Congratulations, Christina here, and you are getting this video because you just took the step for the first time to start giving to your church, and I am so excited for you. Man, we tithe our 10% because God calls us to do that as believers, but He also promises in His Word that in response to our giving, He will provide for us. And I want to encourage you to read Joshua 3 and 4 because your giving for the first time makes me think of what God did in Joshua and all those people. Because what I know about a first-time giver is you probably had to reprioritize your finances in order to give. You know, maybe you needed to free up some money in your shopping, or you quit Netflix so that you could put God first. And that's a big deal, and I appreciate your sacrifice. But when I think about Joshua, so if you know anything about Joshua, God called him to help bring the Hebrews who had been freed from slavery into the promised land. So God had promised these people this plot of land. Joshua was leading them to this land. However, there was a giant river in the way. Oh, look I got water here. Okay, so there's a giant river in the way. And so I'm sure as these thousands upon thousands of people were walking towards the river, because they didn't have airplanes at this time, it was on foot, they probably said, well, what the heck, man, how are we going to get through there? And so Joshua, I'm sure, also had that same thought. But God said, just go. I promised you something. You got to go. And it's much like, again, giving for the first time. It's like, all right, well, God, I'm not quite sure how this is all going to play out, but you're telling me to do it, and so I'll do it. And so here's what happened in this scenario. Joshua and his people approached the river, and they got closer and closer. And instead of giving up, the very first person that put their foot in the river, what God did was He basically parted all the water, and they got to walk through it. But it wasn't until they stepped into the river. So they trusted God to the extent that they hit the water where it didn't seem like it was going to work out. But in the end, God made a way, and they got to that other side. They reached that promised land. And so for every single one of you, man, you've taken that step to give. And so I trust and pray that God is going to bless you. He has something for you, and I'm excited to figure out what that is. So please tell me when God shows up in your life because of your faithfulness. Let me know what that thing is. What does that look like? How has He shown up in your life? It builds my faith to hear those things. So please do share, and I'm excited to see you this Sunday.